We are going over all things networking. I thought that this topic was so needed. It was something that a lot of people were reaching out to me about. How do you network in the digital world that we find ourselves in thanks to COVID? How can I do this when I'm working from home? What does it look like? What are best practices? What are tips or tricks that you can share? So I thought, wait a second, instead of just writing back to people individually, which is very time consuming, but we do it, why don't I just get us all together? I'll share what works for me. You share what works for you. We can collaborate, figure out what works for all of us, and we can all share notes. So this is interactive. If you have a question, if you have a thought, if you have a comment, that's what the comment box is for. So I want to make this as interactive as possible, but I do have some handy dandy slides that will hopefully help guide us in our conversation today. So let me pull those up. First of which is an agenda. I love a good agenda. It makes me happy when I see an agenda. So it might make you happy too. So we're going to kick it off. We're going to go through the 101 of digital networking, what it is, how you should be doing it. We're going to go through two, not one, two networking no-nos. That would be big no-nos. We're also going to go through one must-have item that you should be doing every single time you're thinking about networking or reaching out to someone. We're going to be talking about your digital footprint, networking packs, and as always, answering any questions. So if you have any questions in real time, let's go through them, drop them in the chat, and we will do it for you. To-dos, take notes, or you know what, not take notes. Shelby and I tested something really interesting last week, and I think it worked pretty great. And that was not making people take notes, which I should have realized nobody likes taking notes. So if you're one of those people that don't like taking notes, I got you, because nobody likes taking notes. They just like, getting on the notes later. So if you want today's notes, but you don't feel like taking them, go to sendmenotes.com. That's sendmenotes.com. Put in your email address. We will send you the notes from today's session so that you can have them. So again, sendmenotes.com. Go in there, drop your email address. We'll make sure to send you the notes from today. So you can just enjoy what's ever in your cup and you don't have to worry about taking notes. So I'm excited to kick off all things networking with you right now. So let's dive in and let's get started. I want to do a quick temperature check of everybody in the room, starting with, when was the last time that you set aside time to network? When was the last time that you set aside time to network? So this is meaningful, set it, not just happenstance, not just, oh, we were in the same meeting or we were in the same Zoom call and then we started talking about our dogs or we started talking about our kids or we started talking about our weekend plans. That's just sort of, we were there and it kind of happened. I mean, actually setting aside time. So drop in the chat if that was, you've never done it. Maybe it was, you did it last week. Maybe it's been a couple months. When was the last time that you actually set aside time? And my guess is, if you're like me, if you're like me before like 6 months ago, before I made a plan for it, it's never. Okay. It's like, oh yeah, that's kind of like cleaning the garage. That's on the clean the garage category or clean the oven category. And that category is the category that never gets done. That category is the category that I wish would get done magically, but it doesn't get done. So Amabel, yesterday, holy moly. Okay. You might win. Mark, 2 weeks ago. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Jeff, a couple hours. That's awesome. Kelly, gold star, networking every Tuesday and Friday. That's freaking amazing. Larissa, you're like me in the olden days. I know it's hard to set up time. Jonathan is weekly. Holy moly. So is Keith. That's amazing. I feel like oh my goodness, there's a lot. Yusuf, it's been a while. I know, again, it's like cleaning the garage. It's like, oh my God. It's really tough. Also, fun note from Shelby on my team, because as I said, we can't get LinkedIn to work, but maybe you can. Shelby's going to be posting the links, which normally come from me, but again, technical difficulties. So it's a Wednesday. Well, I just say drink up and hope for the best. You know what I mean? Or at least that's what we're doing over here in our neck of the woods. So appreciate these answers. And again, I'm also not surprised. It can be really hard to set aside time to network. We all are busy. We have a lot going on, the kids, the work, the school, the this. It's a lot. And it can always fall to the bottom of the to-do list. But it is really so important for us to constantly be putting it on our to-do list towards the top, because it is one of those things that is going to benefit you so much in so many different areas of your life. So let's dive into what areas those are and how exactly it can be helping us and what we should be looking for. So let's start with the 3 Ds of digital networking. And I say digital networking because we all are still in COVID. I wish we freaking weren't, but we are. So all of our networking for most of us has to be digitally right now. I hope we can be in person once again, but as of right this second, that is not happening. So the 3 Ds of digital networking, what does that look like? What should we be doing? Number 1, pretty simple. Don't wait. Every day that goes by that you're not networking, I put up a LinkedIn post about this morning. Every day that you are not doing that is another day wasted. So do not wait. As some of you are already doing, kudos to you, holy moly. Dedicate time to doing it. That is going to be a huge help as you think about networking and where you can make time for it. And then lastly, dive into profiles. And I know you might be saying like, well, what does that mean? I don't know. Like dive into profiles. How, Kim? Like dive into profiles, anybody's profile, dive into profiles that I'm interested in. I don't really know. That's okay. But let's start with our first D. And our first D was don't wait. And I know this is really cheeseball, so just wait with me. I hope if you're actually put a yes in the chat if you're kind of like a secret cheese ball, because I'm kind of a secret cheese ball. And I like to think that I'm not like the dad jokes, like the corny stuff. I like to think I'm not alone in that. So drop a yes if you are like me and you love a little cheese, a little cheesiness, a little punny, a little dad joke in there. I know I just can't help myself, but I really do enjoy it. So here's my cheesy moment of the day, which is, I'm sure you've heard this quote before, that the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, and the second best time is now. Yep, I know. Now is the best time that you could be planting a tree. And when we think about networking, this is my cheesiness coming in. We can think of it like a tree. We are the seed, and the seed is going to grow and spread its branches. So the best time that we can be planting that seed and making that time and spreading our branches and spreading our leaves out is right now. Again, the best time was probably 10 years ago. Then our tree would be very big. But the second best time is right now. So make time to network starting today. Do not wait one more minute, one more day to start thinking about networking and bringing it into your everyday life, which brings me to the next point, the second D, which is you have to dedicate time. And I put 3 options in here. I put weekly, I put monthly, and I put quarterly. Why did I do that? Why did I say weekly, monthly, and quarterly? Because I think what the main problem is with a lot of people who run workshops or webinars is they expect you to be like Michael Jordan tomorrow. And I'm more of a realistic girl. I'm kind of like keep it real Kim type of thing. And I'm going to keep it real. If I tell everybody you should be doing this weekly, half of you guys won't do it. And I know because I'm used to being you on the other side of webinars and they're telling me to do something every day. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I already know I'm not going to do that. So let's be real. Let's keep it real with each other. If you're already doing it weekly, like Kelly was saying earlier, amazing. Gold star. Chef's kiss, you are great. But other people might be looking at Kelly and being like, that's not realistic for me. Okay, that's fine. I got you. Start with quarterly. Baby steps. Baby steps are better than no steps. I'd rather you take the smallest step than no step at all. So even if you say quarterly, I'm going to put aside an hour, 2 hours. Again, would I like an hour monthly? Yeah. Would I love an hour weekly? Even more. But again, baby steps. If you can set aside an hour quarterly, monthly, weekly, it's not one size fits all. It's whatever fits you. And this season, you got a lot going on. So pick what works for you, but actually set up time in your calendar. Like make a date with yourself, just like you have a date that says, meeting with Jeff or dinner with Aaron, like meeting with yourself, meeting with yourself to network. Because if you don't put it in your calendar, it won't happen. If you do not dedicate time, if you do not make an effort to say, this is an important date, just like an important date would be getting coffee with a friend, just like an important date would be, doing anything else, then you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. So make a specific date with yourself. It's going to make a world of difference as you think about networking. The next thing you want to do, okay, so you know that it's important. You're dedicating time. Okay, you're there. You're in front of your computer. You're like, it is time to network. I've set aside this time. Here we go. Networking time. Let's rock and roll. Rule number 1 for networking fun. Don't just go willy-nilly on me. Okay. And what I mean by that is take the time to deep dive into people's profiles. So if you are networking on LinkedIn, if you are networking with other people at your company, know a little bit more about that person. Maybe look up what they do. Maybe look up where they went to school. Maybe look up where they're located. Maybe look up friends you might have in common. Do a little bit of a deep dive on this person because it's going to become noticeable very, very quickly who has done a deep dive and who hasn't. And I'm going to show you examples of that, but I just want to flag and maybe this has happened to you. I'd actually love to know your thoughts. I know we're all on LinkedIn, we're all on Facebook, we're all on Instagram, we're all on various social media devices. Have you ever had somebody reach out to you? In fact, drop a yes in the comments if this is you. Tell me if you have ever experienced someone reaching out to you and you know they have no idea what you do. They have no idea what you do. They have no idea who you are. They're just kind of writing like, hope we can be connected, or they're following you and you're like, who is this person? Where did they come from? How did they find me? I think this is especially happening on LinkedIn right now, but it happens on a lot of the other platforms. I know Jeff feels me. You get those people and then you're like, what? Huh? I got one the other day that it said, and Heather too, I got one the other day that said like, I can see by your profile that you are interested in machinery. I have not operated a forklift in my whole life. So I don't know where they got machinery from. I was like, machinery? Does my car count as a machine? I drive that to the grocery store. Does that count? So I knew that person. And you know what I did? It was an automatic no. I pressed the little X. I was like, no, you're not coming in this house. You're not coming in this party, because I know that they obviously didn't look. They obviously had no idea who I was. So that is the third D. So don't wait. We're going to dedicate time and we are going to deep dive into profiles so that we don't ask somebody, hey there, Anja, I see that you're into machinery. When Anja does not know what you are talking about. So, and I know she feels with recruiters all the time. I know you're like, what? Machinery? Huh? And it doesn't have to be machinery. That was just my example, but you know what I'm saying? It could be anything if you've experienced that. Yeah. I am a secret tech head and I also secretly operate machinery. No, I don't. Never done that. And by the way, I don't plan to ever operate machinery. So that was just an automatic no. Okay, so we know what we should be doing. We shouldn't be waiting. We should be dedicating time and we should be deep diving into profiles. So check. We kind of know what's on the good list. We can't have a rainbow, my friends, without some rain. cheese ball. I told you I was going to work it in. My fellow cheesers out there, you can't have the rainbow without the rain. Yes, my friends. So we are going to go over the networking no-nos. These are the things that I want you to steer clear of as fast as humanly possible. Don't get near them. Don't do them. Avoid them like the plague that they are. And so I do want to add a little disclaimer, because I thought about this last night when I was making the slides for this. I thought to myself, I have two choices. The little angel in me was like, Kim, don't use real names. Blur out any identifying factors. That would just be like really nice of you. And then the little devil was like, no, I'm not doing that. And spoiler alert, you guys, the little devil won. I know. I'm a bad person. It shouldn't happen. Whatever. The little devil won. So, that I'm sorry. I can't help it. The little devil won. So our no-nos, Jeff called them out. I know our no-nos are going to be real examples. These are actual screenshots from my inbox, because I also really believe, and I should add, the reason why I'm sharing them is this. I've sat on webinars, I've sat on LinkedIn Lives, I've listened to podcasts, whatever. And I feel like sometimes the experts just glaze over things. They kind of tell you what to do or what not to do. And I'm a visual learner. I want tactile. I want to see it. I want to taste it. I want to touch it. I want to understand exactly what you're talking about so that I can apply it to my life. And if you talk in these vague terms, sometimes I get a little lost. I need very specific examples so that I can say to myself, okay, I got it. And so I did this because I don't think I'm alone in that. I think there might be other people who are joining today who are also like me. And I can say things like, don't do this or don't do that, but they can't see it. They want to actually see an example in real time from my inbox. These were screenshotted last night. They are very accurate of what not to do. So hopefully you will, have a little patience and grace with me, because I did use real names. What's that line in Law and Order? I'm not protecting the innocent. I don't know what it is. I haven't watched Law and Order in a couple weeks, but you know the line that I'm talking about. So here is the first networking no-no. Do not spam people. What does that mean? Do not spam people. What I mean by this is, I'm actually going to make this a little bigger. I'm going to take myself off so you can see. You can see that our friend Kevin here has sent me 4 messages over the course of a week. You can see what he's asking for, and you can also see that he doesn't really know who I am and doesn't really know what I do. And I don't mean to say that in a bad way. My guess is Kevin is using what's called a drip campaign or a robot, which is an automatic procedure where you can flag people on your list. And it's called drip campaign because, like a drippy sink, drip, 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 it will drip emails to people that you are trying to sell to. So it'll drip the first email, drip the second email, drip the third email, etc. Personally, I don't mind drip emails when it comes to content, because normally content is something that's going to help me. So drip away because you're adding value to my life. Sales dripping drives me bonkers. And I think it's an immediate turnoff when it comes to networking, because if Kevin thinks that, 1, I'm going to accept him into my network, or 2, that I'm going to refer him to other people or recommend his product or service, for me, the chances of that are low, because I know that Kevin hasn't done his homework. He doesn't really know what I do, and he doesn't even really know if his brand is a fit for me or his product is a fit for me. So that to me is a networking no-no, because it automatically flags as a no. I'm automatic. And by the way, Kevin could be fabulous. Maybe I want to go for a drink with Kevin. Maybe Kevin and I would be BFFs, but I'm never going to know that because Kevin didn't give me a chance to know that. I have already said no to Kevin, N-O. I've already knowed Kevin before I know him, K-N-O-W. Because maybe once I get to know him, he's amazing. But he's already lost that chance for me to get to know him because I've already said no. I've already said, you've already come in my inbox 4 times. You already don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know where I work. You don't know who I am. It's a no. It's a no for me. So again, one of the big networking no-nos, do not spam people. Do not do email drip campaigns to people. Just don't do that. The next one is not necessarily a no-no, but I put it under no-nos because it's a little bit of both. So it's not necessarily a no-no. It's more of like, do you want to stand out? Do you want to have a gold star? Do you want to be the gold star of networking? And again, these are real examples from my inbox that I took screenshots of last night. And I'm going to show you this really quick on the screen, okay? Because this is going to be like a little quiz. I'm going to show you something really quick on the screen. And it's going to be 5 invitations to connect, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to show you this really quick. And you're going to tell me just from the flash that I put on screen, who would you connect with? Okay, I know, it's a little pop quiz. It's going to be really quick. Are you ready? You know what? We're going to take a sip. We're going to get some caffeine in us for this pop quiz part. Okay, I'm going to flash it on the screen. You tell me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I kind of gave you a hint with the giant gold star, but go with me here. Okay, who would you pick? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? Again, I gave you a huge hint with the gold star, so I don't want to say that you should know the answer, but you should know the answer. So drop it in the chat, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And then let's talk about it. Let me see what some of your answers are, and then let me explain where I'm coming from so that you can kind of see visually. Again, like I said, I'm a visual learner. I need prime examples. Exactly. Jane, the one with the star. I know, the one with the star. Jane and Heather and Brandy, Alina. Yes, exactly. 1. Why 1? Because 2 through 5 look exactly the same. Ain't nothing special about them. You know what I mean? It's like 4 vanilla ice creams. There's nothing going on. But the one with the message, the one that says, "Hey, Kim, saw you on this podcast," but that's some rocky road. Okay, that's got some sprinkles. That's got a cherry on top. Okay, they're personalizing it to me. Okay, they've looked at something. Maybe it says we both went to the University of Florida. Maybe it says go Gators. Maybe it says I heard you on this podcast. Maybe it says, hey, I'm friends with Andrew, and he said I should get in touch with you. Or Charlie recommended that I reach out based on this coffee with Kim that I saw. So already, just by having a few sentences in there, it's immediately standing out. Across the sea of vanilla, it's immediately a rocky road with sprinkles and a cherry and hot fudge and maybe some hot caramel. It's immediately standing out. So one of the other, again, it's sort of like, it's not necessarily a no-no, but I would say, no, don't be vanilla ice cream. Although, by the way, I love vanilla ice cream. Don't be vanilla ice cream when you can be rocky road with sprinkles and hot fudge and caramel and all these delicious things. Like, if you can make yourself stand out, why wouldn't we do that? So I would say, when you are networking, always, 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 always send a personal invitation. Send a personalized, even if it's 2 or 3 sentences, even if it's something as simple as, hey, I saw we both live in Austin, Texas. I saw we both have this friend in common. I saw we both went to this school. I saw we both worked at this company. I don't care what it is, but one little thing is going to make such a difference. And for the record, Charlie, my favorite type of ice cream is chocolate chip cookie dough. I know, I've had it for 10 years. I'm not leaving it. I love it. It's delicious. I eat it probably more than I care to admit. So if you can, make sure that you are standing out. Do not do a cold outreach. It's just, you can do better. I know you and you can do better. So if you can, always, always, always send a personalized invite. I know it takes a few more seconds, but I promise you those few more seconds are going to be completely worth it. So give it a go. Okay, so I know what you're thinking now, which is we know what we should be doing and we know what we shouldn't be doing, but how do we apply what we shouldn't be doing, right? Like, so what's the right way to do it? If we shouldn't be spamming people and we should be sending these personalized messages, what should we be doing? It's a great question. And it's an important one to ask ourselves, also, which we should be asking ourselves, to Keith's point, what do we do if we don't have a common connection with them? If there is something interesting on their profile, if there is something that you can find on them, maybe they posted a really great article, maybe they reshared a really interesting blog or a podcast. If there's anything that they are doing that you thought, that was a great article, that was a great post, that was a great, now there could be a situation where they don't have any recent activity. They haven't been posting, they haven't been resharing. In that case, what I would do is I would just reach out and be honest. Say, hey, I found your profile. I thought it was really interesting. I'm making this up because I don't know where they work. Let's use an example. It's really interesting that you work at Coca-Cola. I've been a fan of Coca-Cola for a really long time. I see that you work in marketing. I've always been interested in marketing. I'd love to connect with you and keep learning more about you and what you do. Sometimes honesty is the best policy. In those cases, Keith, I think you keep it honest. If you can't find any common connection, if you can't compliment them on anything that they found, but I would also say, like, how did you end up at their profile in the first place? So using this as an example, you could say, I was listening to Coffee with Kim on Wednesday, and I happened to click on Tony's profile. And when I clicked on Tony's profile, I found you. So even though you don't necessarily know Tony, you might be able to use her and say, because I clicked on Tony's profile, I found you. And so I think Tony's interesting. So I think you might be interesting. So exactly. I would also agree with Tony. Always look at how you're communicating, what you're saying. If this is someone that you know, if this is someone that you don't know, again, always curate what you're saying based on who you're reaching out to. So hopefully that gives a little more insight into how exactly to reach out to people and what you should be saying, even if you don't have anything in common, even if you can't find anything that they've done or posted about or shared recently. That would be my best tip. Now I want to share with you something that I think is a must do. It's something that I have really found to be extremely helpful with my own networking. It has supercharged the way in which I reach out to people, the efficiency of how I'm able to connect. And it's something that I was like, do I share this? What if everybody starts doing it? But then I thought, we are an amazing community here. And if I don't share what's working for me, what the heck am I doing? I have got to share this in hopes that maybe it will work for you. So I have what I affectionately refer to as my save and spray strategy. So, like our friend here with his champagne and his party-ness going on, that is me when I do this method. It's my save and spray. I do it every single week. This is something that I found after being honest, a lot of trial and error. And I say this because I was setting up time to network and I was like, okay, I'm setting up time. But then I would find as I went through my day, as things were happening, I was sort of all over the place because I would see someone and I'd be like, oh, well, let me go try to connect with them. Or I'd be in a meeting with someone, or I would be listening to a podcast on a run and I would actually stop running. This happened to me last week. I stopped running to click on the show notes, to click on the person's name, to find them on Instagram, to then find them on LinkedIn. You get the drift. I literally stopped to run because I was like, oh, this person sounds so interesting. So that's when I really was like, okay, I have to get serious on this, what I'm calling the save and spray method. And what that means is I try to compile everyone that I think could be interesting or could be someone that I want to do a little more of a deep dive on to see if it's a fit again. So I'm not sending them a message like, do you work in machinery? So I don't sound like that. Do a little more of a deep dive on and see how can I send them a thoughtful note or a thoughtful connection request? How do I digitally network with them? So what I started doing is I opened up Evernote. This can work in your notes app on your phone. I use Evernote. It could be you sending an email to yourself. There's a bunch of different techniques, but I send myself notes of people that I want to connect with. And then when it comes to that dedicated time that I've set aside for the week, what I do is I go through all of those people who I've saved from the last few weeks. I go through all of them and make sure, okay, let's dive into each one of these individually while I'm calm and sitting, and I can, dive in as much as I want into each of their platforms or profiles or whatever it is I found on them. So again, I'm tactile. You might be like me. I like actual examples of what this looks like. So again, I thought, let me open my inbox and actually show you real messages that I have sent in the last week or two that I have done this with. Because again, I think that this could be helpful. So the first example is a gentleman that I heard featured on a really interesting podcast. You may or may not have been able to join a few weeks ago, but we had an amazing founder named Ellen Yin. And Ellen Yin has an awesome company. It's called Cubicle to CEO. She runs workshops, courses, but she has a super interesting podcast of the same name, Cubicle to CEO. Ellen is a friend. And so I subscribed to her podcast. I listened to her podcast. And so I was listening to her podcast, and one of her guests, Jeremy, was really blowing me away. I thought he was adding such value. I thought he was just really smart, and the experience that he had was really interesting. So I saved his information. And during my save and spray time in my calendar, what did I do? I did a little deep dive into Jeremy, and then I reached out to him. And so again, I wanted to show you exactly what I said, but I said, hey, Jeremy, I loved your episode on the Cubicle to CEO podcast with Ellen. I had Ellen on my own podcast a few weeks ago, and so I've been listening to her podcast ever since. I'm excited to connect and keep learning from you. Obviously, Jeremy was excited. He talked about how much fun he had recording that episode. And now Jeremy and I are connected, and we've built up that little rapport. So that's an example of somebody I heard on a podcast. I sent a very specific personalized connection request on LinkedIn to get to know that person a little bit more. So that's one example. Kelly, that is a great, I should think about Jeremy to come on here with us. Thank you for that piece of advice. Maybe I'll reach out to Jeremy after this, if he's not like, oh my God, this girl's stalking me, talking about me all the time. But I really wanted to share that tactile example with you. So that's an example in terms of a podcast. So you might say, well, Kim, I don't really listen to podcasts. Like, podcasts aren't really my thing. What's another example? I got you. We all read. We read articles on LinkedIn. We read blogs. We read newsletters. And on all of these places, other humans are mentioned. They might be quoted in the article. They might have written the article. They might have shared the article. They might be featured in the article. But usually an article has names of interesting humans inside of it. So I read an article, and it had an interesting human's name inside it. So I set her information to the side. During my save and spray time, I did a deep dive on her. I was like, oh my gosh, this woman is fascinating. She's done so much really exciting work. So once again, I reached out to her. And I said, she was quoted in this article, and I just said, "Hi, Stephanie. I'm so impressed with everything you're building and that you have going on. As a female founder, I'm clapping extra loud in the back for all the role model work you are doing. We need more awesome ladies out there excited to connect and keep learning from you. Talk soon, Kim." Obviously, Stephanie wrote back and she said, "Thank you so much, Kim. I'm excited to be connected." So again, that was somebody that I had seen that was quoted in an article, and I thought that was a really good article and she sounded really smart. So let me reach out. So if you listen to podcasts, that could be an interesting tactic for you. If you're not a podcast person and you're more of a reading articles and blogs and newsletters, then that could be an interesting system for you. And Rachel makes a great point that it doesn't matter the system that you use as long as you write it down. It is so important to write it down because we are all busy and we forget things all the time. I know I do it. I tell myself, when you go to the store, remember the onion. Do I ever remember the onion? No, of course I don't. But if I write it down, then I remember to pick up the onion. So that is the impetus of this kind of save and spray method. And I came up with a kitschy name because I knew it would help you remember it. But it's basically saving all these names and then spraying out lots of messages, spraying out the kindness like confetti of how much I loved podcasts they were on, or articles they were mentioned in, or things they had written, or things they posted, or things they shared. And so whatever system you're using, whether you're using it in Evernote, whether you're using a notes app on your phone, honestly, I have sometimes written emails to myself, send the email from myself to myself, purely so that I know, okay, I'm laying in bed. I'm laying in bed. I don't have my notebook. I will just send myself an email, and I know tomorrow morning when I get in front of my notebook and I get back at my desk, I will be able to write this on my to-do list. Yes, I still use a paper to-do list. In addition to my digital list, I have no shame. I love it. I love paper products. I do not apologize for it. So that could be something that works for you. So let's say you compile this list of interesting people and you send out these amazing connection requests. Great. The next thing that's going to happen, and I'm sure it happened with Jeremy when my message hit his inbox, and I'm sure it also happened with Stephanie when my message hit her inbox, is they go, huh, okay, this is a nice message. I like it. But then their next reaction is going to be, well, who is this girl? Right? If somebody random goes in your inbox, even if it's nice, the next question you're going to be asking is, well, that's a really nice message, but who is this? Who just sent me this nice message? And so that's another way. Again, remember, networking goes both ways. So when someone says, who is this? What they are probably going to do, the next step, we all do it. The next step that they do, whether you reach out on Instagram, whether you reach out on LinkedIn, whether you reach out on Facebook, I don't care where you reach out, the next step that people will take is they are immediately going to click on your profile. They are immediately going to click on your name. They're immediately going to see who you are, what you do, how you found them. It is inevitable. Okay. That is exactly what they're going to do. They are going to click on your profile. I would say for me, how many people do you reach out to save and spray? That honestly depends. Some weeks I've listened to a lot of podcasts and I've listened, to a lot of different cool YouTube videos, and I might have 15 people to reach out to. Other weeks I'm super busy. I haven't had time to listen to podcasts. I haven't had time to read my newsletters, and I might only have 2. So there's no sort of set method. Again, I always say baby steps, imperfection over perfection. I don't set some sort of unrealistic goal for myself, like you must have 20 people every week or you have failed, or you must have 100 people every quarter or 30 people a month. I would just say, if something strikes you, somebody sounds interesting, if a friend of a friend says, hey, you should meet my friend Charlie, like he's doing really cool stuff, take a note. Oh yeah, Christina's friend Charlie, I should look him up, see what he's working on. So just take mental notes. Don't stress. Don't make it a contest, because here's the thing. The minute you make it a contest and you fail, The minute you say, I have to get 30 and you don't hit it, you're at 26, you're at 27, then it makes it much easier the next week to go, well, I've fallen off the horse. I have all this other work to do. Let me just skip it this week. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's a deadly slope that you start to go down where you're like, well, I already didn't hit my goal once, and then it becomes twice, and then it becomes 3 times. And then before you know it, you're off schedule. So I always say, don't necessarily set a quota for yourself. Don't put too much stress on yourself. That's why I was saying, quarterly, monthly, weekly, because I know that if I say to people, you should be doing it weekly, the minute you don't do it weekly, it feels like, oh, well, forget it. So start easy. Maybe that's monthly for you, and then work your way up, or keep it monthly. That's great. That works too. So pick whatever is going to work for you. And Kelly makes an amazing point here. It is indeed quality over quantity. Going back to our friend who was using a computer program to automatically send messages, he was probably automatically sending those messages to, I don't know, 500 people, 600 people, 1,000 people. I don't know what those machines let you do these days, but he was just spraying miscellaneously everywhere, didn't even know what they were doing. It's like those messages I get, like, I see you work in machinery, or I see you operate machinery, when obviously that's not what you do. I would say, again, these are quality connections. These are people that you heard on a podcast. These are people that are friends of friends. These are people that you saw an article on or that you saw featured. This is going to be someone that you actually it came into your awareness, it came into your contact, not necessarily, oh, I just sprayed 200 random people with invites. I don't think that that's valuable for you long term when it comes to networking. Because for me, networking, it's really about making the relationships matter and making the relationships be worth it. Excellent point of how many connection requests are allowed in a week or allowed in a month. There used to be a firm number, and I want to say it was in like the hundreds, but I also know because of the creator mode changes that have come with LinkedIn in the last 90 days, that a lot of stuff has gotten rearranged. So I actually do not know what the connection limit is at this current moment. I think it might have changed around a little bit. So I don't want to say a number or say the old number if that's not the case anymore. So instead, what I will say is Shelby and I will do a little homework on our end, and we will figure out what that connection limit is, because you are correct. For most platforms, whether it is Instagram, whether it is Facebook, whether it is LinkedIn, there is indeed a connection limit. You can't just try to connect with 10,000 people in one day. It just won't work. That's just not realistic. So I would say that would be really powerful. And I see that Rachel made a good point, and I'm trying to find it in the comments. I'm like, what was the good point she made? Rather than a quantity, just blocking out weaker connections. Exactly. So that could be something too. Making sure that you're taking time to follow up with connections you might already have. That's a great point, Rachel. Again, really just having that dedicated time, I think, is going to be immensely valuable when figuring out how to network effectively. So no matter what, whether you're networking with people you know, whether you're networking with people that you don't know, the common occurrence is going to be for people to click on your profile. They're going to click on your profile. They're going to poke around. They're going to see what you have going on. So when they land on your profile, you have to figure out, what are they like? What are they looking at? And don't panic about it, because we can help with that. So I would say there's 2 ways that I can help you with that sort of, oh my gosh, they're looking at my profile and what the heck is coming up. The first one is sort of a basic. You can go to helpmylinkedin.com. You can download tips. They probably take 30 or 40 minutes to do. And that will just be a basic optimization of your profile. So helpmylinkedin.com, that is going to just be a nice kind of baseline refresher to make sure that when people are clicking on your profile, again, I'm using LinkedIn, but you can take some of the same strategies and same theories over onto other digital platforms. So that's going to be number one. If you're like, Kim, I downloaded those, they were super helpful, but this is a job that I'm going to need a little more help with. This is not as simple as, 1, 2, 3. This is something that I really want to get into networking meaningfully. I really need to overhaul my profile in a major way. The comparison I give to people is, when you clean your house and you do the type of clean where it's like, you kind of get rid of the crumbs, but you just kind of put the crumbs on the floor, and you take all your crap that's all over the coffee table and the couch and you kind of like stick it in the closet because people are coming over. But when you open the closet, it's all going to come pouring out. People walk into your house and they say, wow, your place is so clean. And you're like, yeah, it's so clean, because it's not really clean. It's just like you kind of stuffed everything in the closet. That's kind of what this LinkedIn basic sheet's going to be. It's going to just stuff everything in the closet, and it will look clean, but it might not really be clean. You know what I mean? I'm just using that as an example. So if you're like, no, Kim, I actually want help. Like, I actually want to optimize my profile and get serious about networking. That's going to be more of a clean. That's going to be like, we're getting out the vacuums, we're getting out the brooms, we're getting out the Windex, we're getting out the cleaner. We're like actually cleaning up. That's going to be more of a complete clean. And for that, I would look at our Career Capital program. So you can go to careercapitalcourse.com. You can look into that and see a little bit more about what is going on there. So careercapitalcourse.com, that is going to be more of an intensive clean. That is a 6-week program working with me. Roll up your sleeves type of thing. We're going to be getting in there. We're going to be cleaning stuff up. So that's going to be when you want to roll up your sleeves and do a little bit more of the deep work, not so much of the glossy work. And this is the last tip I want to point out. And this is true anytime you're doing something new. I don't care what it is that you're doing new. It could be something new at your job, could be something new in your everyday life. I'll use myself as an example. Could be something like going to the gym or working out. When you are held accountable by other human beings, it makes it much harder to flake. It makes it much harder to say, I'm not going to do that today. So it could be going to the gym. If you are running with a friend or working out with a friend, you're more likely to go, because if not, that is rude and you left your friend hanging. Okay. So I would say, even though this is digital networking and this is not necessarily the gym, I would say there's a bunch of amazing humans right here that are here with us. Ask one of them to be your gym partner. Okay. This is an exercise, digital networking. Ask them to do this with you, because when you do it together, it makes a huge difference. So again, I know we like tactile examples. I wanted to show you a tactile example from my inbox. This is somebody that reached out to me just on Friday, and it's this guy, Brett. And he said, I enjoyed your conversation with Cody. I had taped a live podcast with my friend Cody, who's actually coming on with Coffee with Kim in a few weeks. And he was inviting me to do a podcast. And I had said on this podcast that I enjoy lazy marketing. So thanks for sharing. So our friend Brett here obviously subscribes to the 3 Ds, the don't wait, the dedicate time, and the deep dive. He did all 3 in his message to me. If digital networking is something that I was like, okay, I really need some more accountability partners, Brett could be a gold star that I reach out to. And I say, Brett, your message to me was awesome. This was fantastic. Can you help keep me accountable in the coming weeks that I'm like you and I'm going to do this too? So whether it's Rachel or Jeff or Mark or Jen or anybody who's here today, I would encourage you to reach out and say, can you help keep me accountable in this way? Because I think that this is going to be such a meaningful way to move the ball forward, in addition to moving the ball forward on your own. I know that I have had so much fun doing this networking session with you. I know there have been some questions. This will be saved. Again, you can go to sendmenotes.com. We will send you notes on this networking session. If you haven't written notes, I would say if you haven't already, you can keep learning from me in other ways. I have this page on my website, kimkalp.com. You can navigate over to courses. I have live courses. I have leisure courses, as I call them, which is basically you can watch my courses in your pajamas at 2 a.m, whenever you want. Those are leisurely. You can do those at your own pace. If you haven't already, I know I talk about algorithms all the time on various social platforms. I can't control them. I wish I could. For anybody who's watched Loki, I wish I was Kang the Conqueror and I could control the timeline and I could control the algorithm. Okay. I wish I was Father Timekeeper, but I am not. I can't do that. I can't control the algorithm. The only known way that I can control the algorithm is if you follow me. If you click the follow button on my LinkedIn, it will notify you when I go live. It will notify you when things get posted. This is the only way that I know that the algorithm will let you see the stuff that I post. Trust me, we've tried it all. I can't figure out the algorithm other than that. So if you haven't already, please press follow on my profile so that you can see what is going on. And then last but not least, come back here. Every single week, we are here. You can go to getcoffeewithkim.com. It will take you to a page filled with all of our next guests. We have Kwame next week, where we are talking about negotiating. We are talking with Alex about converting content into clients. The week after that, we are talking about rest. This is a subject I'm super kind of geeked out about because it's all about sabbaticals. I know I live here in the United States. Sabbaticals are not such a thing here, but in other countries, in Europe, in Australia, in the UK, sabbaticals is something that people do. I'm really curious about that. I think it's something that is going to come, especially post-COVID. I think we're going to see a lot more sabbaticals and rules and kind of best practices around sabbaticals here in the United States. So I'm really excited for that session in a couple weeks. But if you haven't already, sign up for the sessions. They are going to be amazing. And as always, if you have requests, if you have something that you want to see, if you're like, you should be doing a workshop on this, the entire reason that we are doing networking today is because I got responses from people saying, please talk about networking. So I read every single one. I try to reply to every single one because I want to know what would be helpful. Is it networking? We've done mentoring. We've done LinkedIn profile deep dives. We've done resumes. If there is something that you are struggling with, let me know, and we hopefully can do a mini workshop focusing on it. I think that would be amazing. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining. I loved having you spend your Wednesday with me. I hope that this was valuable for you. I know it was a whole lot of fun for me, despite the glitches at the beginning, because that happens. That's life. So I just want to say thank you so much for your time, for your attention, for your questions, for your comments, for your helpful resources. I cannot wait to see you next week when we talk about negotiating. I know it's something that I am constantly having to work on, especially in my household when it comes to taking out the trash. You know what I mean? We're not just talking about work here. There's a whole lot of negotiation going on. So if you also could use a few tips like me with negotiation in your work or personal life, next week's session with Kwame is going to be a must attend. So thank you so much. It was so wonderful to see you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of the week.